Hello Twitch, hello YouTube, welcome back. This is Captain Nav. Today for this flight from London Heathrow to
Auto-brake disarm.
Madrid Barajas on the 777. Apparently there's a flight from Heathrow to Madrid on the 777. I think mostly a 200 ER, but FlightAware was showing for today 777 300 ER. So that's what we're gonna do. There's also 767 apparently from time to time on the route. So yeah, we'll fly in Europe. It's quite rare to have like a 777 flying within Europe, and it's gonna take us to Madrid. So we are in Terminal 5 in London Heathrow. It's quite a nice day in London, not too bad, just a bit of cloud, but I think it's high pressure at the moment, so the weather is fairly good. It's clear and dry at least. Some of you know I've got the virtual CDU now for the 777, so I'll display the FMC, but you won't see me play with the mouse. I'll control the FMC directly from the tablet remotely, which is really good actually. It works really well. So the model is correct, 777-300ER. It's a G90 engines. The nav database is correct. So we are all good. Go to Posinet, enter the reference airport, which is Echo Golf Lima Lima, and take the GPS position and bring it into the set inertial position line. And yeah, the RS should be lining up. Then we'll request the route 777, and here is EGLL LEMD 01. So for those of you who ask me where the routes come from, well, you need to save them. The routes are not automatically there, so you need to save them before being able to use them. So the request is sent and the uplink is now ready, so we can clear the message and load the uplink. We can cancel the route route 1 uplink loading message. So now we've got the origin airport, the destination, and then if we look at the route, it's the correct route: Goxi, Upper November 61 to Basic, Upper November 90 to Novan, Upper November 864 to Orbis. So we can activate and execute. And we go on the Perfinet page. That makes me think actually I'll do it on the other computer. I need to set the information for the flight. So some people were also asking how do you set the fuel and the payload. So we go to FS actions, go to the fuel, and the fuel required today is gonna be, according to the flight plan, 22.1. So I'll set 22.1 on the fuel, and the aircraft is refueled already. And that makes me think for the payload and the zero fuel weight, request boarding, we return, and then we go to payload, and what I'll do is I just enter the zero fuel weight as per the flight plan, which is 207.2. 207.2. I'm not too bothered about the distribution of passengers in the different classes, and also the distribution of the cargo. The main thing is to have the zero fuel weight as per your flight plan, so that the weight of the aircraft is correct, and therefore the burn and the levels are going to be usable and accurate as well. Right, so this one we can close and leave it here. And we can continue with the FMC. So the reserve, according to the flight plan, is 8 tons. And cruise altitude is going to be 370. And cost index I think is 120 today. And we'll set 30% here, so right. So we'll stay here for the moment, then we come back. We're gonna depart from, I guess from 27. Yeah, we can go from 27 right. Always alternate, so it's not really a big problem. And Goxie 1 Foxtrot. So that's correct. We'll set up the ATC call sign, Speedbird 458. We go to the next page. There's no discontinuity, so we can execute. Then we'll check the legs page, makes sense. We go on heading 270 or 271 until we pick up 257 to the Gulf Point, which is 7 miles. And then it's a right turn, 265, turn 213. Until like Goxie. Okay. And some 27, 5,500 or above, which is not in there. And execute. And we're going route data, request the wind data. It should have been there actually. Anyway, we can request it again, there's no problem. We've got all the levels, they are good. And then we go to the VNAV. Hey, thank you for the follow, TDP UK. Welcome to the stream. Good morning. So the VNAV page, forecast, then we'll load the winds. The transition I think is 5,000 in Spain. We'll adjust that. Navrad, we don't put anything. Progress page, we check the distance. And the flight plan distance is 770 miles. I've got 711, so that's without the arrival, so that makes sense. We'll copy the route onto route 2, back to route 1. All the uplinks are loaded, and the MSA is based on London VOR. So London and /25, no, /25. Here is 6,000 feet as the transition. I will set the transition here as well, 6,000. Cool. And we are standing by for the data entry. So now set the instruments. The QNH, I'll use the B function. Here is, it's 1018. Everything else is set, looking good. Set my flight director on. I'll preset an expected VRF. Runway heading is 270. Runway track, initially 6,000 feet. Cool, the FO will do the rest of his panel. We'll check the oxygen. And the rest is good. Parking brake set. Good stuff, all set. Perfect. Let's see FS to crew. The next thing is at -29, he comes back.
Back from the walk around and everything looks good.
Preflight checklist.
Preflight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Flight instruments.
Heading 272. Altimeter 1018.
Heading 272. Altimeter 1018. Pre-flight checklist complete.
Here's the load sheet for you. Have a nice trip.
Thank you. Right, so the APU is started, and then we'll call the ground and disconnect the ground equipment, and then we'll ask for pressurize the hydraulics, which is alright. Zero fuel weight of 207.2 gives us gross weight of 229.3 minus the taxi fuel at 228.5. That makes sense. Then the assumed temperature is 766 degrees. So I'll stop there because we were talking about like the assumed temperature method for takeoff and to reduce the thrust. Basically, to reduce the thrust, you tell the computer that the temperature is like warm or very hot, in this case 76 degrees, and the hotter the temperature is in real, without trying to fool the engines and the computer into thinking it's warm, the warmer the temperature is, the less thrust the engines give out. So by trying to basically fool the computer into thinking that it's very hot outside, the thrust is reduced that way. That's, yeah, so basically you tell the computer and you fool the computer, because the actual temperature is only 9 degrees outside in this case, but you tell the computer that it's really hot outside, and the hotter it is, the more thrust you take away from the engines. So that's the way it works basically, if it makes sense. Then engine acceleration is 1000, acceleration height is 3000, and thrust reduction 1500. And the takeoff flaps is 5. CG by PMDG is 23%, so give us a trim of 6.5. And then the speeds 151, 155, 159, and my software is giving me 152, 154 and 158, so they are not much different actually. And VRF 30 is 143 with checks. So we've got a V1 of 152, VR 154, V2 158. Alarm LNAV, VNAV, we've got track 270 and altitude 6000, so that's all good. What do you mean by it should be hotter?
Hi Captain, the cabin is ready to go.
Thanks.
If you need anything, just let me know.
Okay. Connect this one up here. Ground flight deck.
Go ahead.
Please disconnect the ground equipment.
Roger.
Hydraulics. Ground flight deck.
Go ahead.
Can we pressurize hydraulics? Can we pressurize hydraulics?
Roger, you are clear to pressurize the hydraulics.
Before start procedure.
Are we clear to pressurize?
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready for the checklist.
Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door. Closed and locked. MCP.
V2 158, track 270, altitude 6000. V2 158, track 270, altitude 6000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 152, VR 154, V2 158. Set and checked.
CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Completed. Trim.
6.5 units, 0 and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Before start checklist complete.
Very good. Right. Runway entry procedure.
Check. Clear on the approach.
Approaching 27 right. Approaching 27 right. On runway 27 right.
Takeoff.
Check.
Thrust ref.
Thrust set. Check. $80 knots.
Hold.
Check. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up. LNAV.
Check. 400 feet.
Thrust ref, VNAV speed.
Check. Check.
Autopilot.
Climb. Check.
The difference between NADP 1 and NADP 2. NADP 1, the height at which you accelerate for flap retraction is 3,000 feet over the runway, and you start reducing the thrust to a climb thrust at 1,500 feet. NADP 2 is both accelerating and reducing the thrust at 1,000 feet. Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
After takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete.
Transition altitude, altimeter standard.
Standard set.
Cool. Does that make sense, Brito? It's just a matter of trying most of the time to minimize the noise around the airports. By accelerating at 3,000 feet, you get the aircraft to climb a little bit faster, and then you start the acceleration, obviously a bit higher as well. So you climb a little bit. It's a steeper climb, and then you accelerate a little bit higher, so that makes a little bit less noise. If you accelerate at 1,000 feet and reduce the thrust at 1,000, you're obviously going to make a little bit more noise, like closer to the airport, but then by the time you have retracted the flaps and then you climb again, then your rate of climb is better. So for areas which are a little bit
Flight level 100.
yeah, for areas which are like a little bit further from the airport, then it's good. So it depends on the proximity of the areas you want to be as quiet as possible, you know. For NADP 1 is better for areas which are close to the airport, because you climb quite like steeply, and then you go all the way to 3,000, and then you start lowering the nose to allow the speed to pick up, and then retract the flaps. So at least you're at like 3,000 feet once you start kind of almost leveling off and retracting the flaps. Whereas like when you when you do NADP 2 and you accelerate at 1,000 feet, then obviously it's gonna take you're gonna be quite low for quite some time. So if there are like any areas close to the airport, obviously you're gonna be quite noisy there. So here we are, we'll go all the way to 370. Eurocontrol was on earlier on, hopefully they're still on. Yes. 13525. I'll press that down, then we'll give them a call later on. And we are on our merry way to Madrid. So yeah, we're gonna head towards Southampton, and then just head towards almost the south of Bournemouth. So flying along the coastline more or less, and then across the channel towards Normandy, and Brittany cross the area there, fly towards across the Bay of Biscay towards Santander, and then down to Madrid. So on the 777-300 VNAV page 2, when at many miles should we have the top of descent indication? That's a very good question. When we are on page 2, you'll get the top of descent when you are 500 miles from the destination. You'll get the top of descent indication, and
Ladies and gentlemen, in
the
just a few moments we will begin our in-flight entertainment. Today we have one movie.
I was
which
just
will be
looking at
followed
this
by
why
a
it's
snack.
flashing.
And then we will also be showing short clips and some news items. For the people sitting in window
Not
seats,
sure what the recommended is flashing. I've never seen that before.
This assists all
Anyway,
passengers to
yeah, you'll get
enjoy the movie much better.
the top of descent
Also,
indication
as
with
it is
the
aligned for the movie
ETA,
portion,
the
please
estimate
use caution when
estimated
getting up and
time
using the restroom
of
or waiting in the aisles.
the top of descent when you are 500 miles to your
Keep
destination.
all items clear of the aisle for other people and also for our flight attendants. Thank you.
So the computer is recommended 290, but the flight plan was saying 37, and the optimum is at 380. So I'm puzzled why the recommended level is flashing there, because I've never seen that before. That's interesting. Yeah, it's no worries, Brito. I'm within the confines of the simulation. I'm trying to kind of do it the way we do it in real. It's not easy, because this is a very kind of sterile environment, so to speak. You know, it's totally alien from being in a flight deck, because you don't first of all, you don't have like the muscle memory with, you know, where the switches are, and you know, the handling and things like that. You know, you're totally in the wrong environment, sitting like at a desk with like a screen in front of you. So doing it like, you know, with the desktop simulation is totally alien to the real thing. But I'm trying to kind of, you know, follow the same kind of steps and thought process that we follow in real, but obviously try to adapt it a little bit to what's going on here in the simulation. It's not easy, actually. Once obviously you're trained and you can do it in the real aircraft, it's much easier to do it in the real aircraft than to do it here. I guess it's like driving a car. I'm sure it's easier, and you'll all know what I mean. It's easier to drive a car in real than maybe drive a car in a desktop simulation, because you don't have a feel for things, you don't have the whole kind of visual of the roads and of what's surrounding you. It's all, as I said, quite sterile, so it's easier on the real thing, actually. But yeah. Well, the SOP there are the FS2 crew SOPs, which on the ground it's a little bit difficult for me, because I've got to follow the kind of timeline of FS2 crew, and the whole sequence is totally different from what I'm doing in real. So it's I don't want to kind of pay too much attention to FS2 crew the way it does things on the ground, because I don't want to like get bad habits and get confused. And so I'm trying to just like follow the timeline. I've got it written down on a piece of paper that I used to kind of go through it, as you saw, like during the initial part. I was, you know, saying -40, -29, etc, etc. Yeah, because it's totally different from while we're doing things. So but then once you are in the air, actually it's fairly similar. You know, the whole takeoff, you know, where you call takeoff, it says check, and you call the flight mode annunciator there thrust ref, and the guy says, you know, checked, and takeoff thrust set. All that is fairly standard. Yeah. So once you're in the air, like FS2 crew is kind of follows the Boeing SOPs and callouts, and that's fairly close to what we do. So it's interesting that way. No problem. See you soon. Thank you very much for popping along today, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye. I will call our friend Eurocontrol now. Not gonna be very far. Or is he gone? Please don't tell me he's gone. No, he's here.
(1,000 feet to level off).
So the rate of climb is not too high, so I'll keep VNAV is doing a good job. The rate of climb is reducing now a little bit. It's about 1150 a minute. If it was very high, if it was above maybe 1500 feet per minute, you would use vertical speed to kind of keep it under control, but there VNAV is doing a decent job. So the danger with vertical speed, if you're trying to ask the aircraft to do too much of a vertical climb, then the speed can drop, and obviously if the speed drops too much, then you can possibly stall. So you've got to be careful not to use vertical speed too much. Yeah, one day on the 787, yeah, hopefully. Eurocontrol West, good afternoon, Speedbird 458, fly level 370.
Speedbird 458, Eurocontrol West, good afternoon to you. Squawk 0613 and ident.
Squawk 0613 with ident, Speedbird 458. So 06 0613 with ident. Ident is here in between the two knobs. Identing. Cool. Yeah, the 787 release should be good. I don't have a clue when it's gonna be, but yeah, I would be interested in 787 simulation. It would be very nice indeed. The 74, I'm really chuffed with the 747. I think it's a beautiful aircraft. It's really well simulated. It flies very well. The handling is fairly good. Confirm direct to Orbis, Speedbird 458.
458
Okay, direct to Orbis, Speedbird 458. Thank you very much. Wow! Direct to the last point. Ha! What a direct! Ah well.
Good morning, is the flight crew vehicle passing flight load 2, 4.
I thought maybe I remember the routing being the area being Basic and then Santander, but now it's giving us direct to Orbis. Wow.
Good day, EV52 expect on Eurocontrol West, squawk 0645 and ident.
Guibert, no worries. That's what I'm trying to do. I hope sometimes I'm not. It's not too complicated, or I'm not rambling on too much. But yeah, that's the kind of aim of the whole channel and the stream, to kind of on stream in particular, to kind of go like through the thought process that I would go through like in the actual aircraft, and kind of share a little bit what we think about, and the way the flight is conducted. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Hopefully you can appreciate it. The heading indicator, I'm sure that's what you mean here. Basically changing between heading and track. When we fly in LNAV, as is the case at the moment. We match the route with the track bug there, which we can see at the top there of the compass rose. We use track because flying in the LNAV, you fly the flight plan route, and the flight plan route is basically flying a track. So basically you match the track of the track bug, you put it on the magenta line there, so that the track is matched. If we receive radar vectors by ATC, for example, then you would switch back to heading, because air traffic control gives you headings to fly. They don't really give you tracks. So that's why, and that's when you would change to heading. So if you get like radar vectors by ATC, it's heading, and then during the flight in LNAV, we use track mode, just to keep the track bug there centered on the route. I hope it makes sense. Maybe the next question you might come up with is, what's the difference between track and heading? Basically, the track is basically the way the aircraft, the route that the aircraft travels over the ground, and the heading kind of takes into account the wind. So you can see at the moment the track is 191, and the heading there up here is 192. It's because there's a little bit of wind coming from the right, so you have to point the nose into the wind slightly to maintain the route or the track over the ground. So basically the track is the route over the ground, or the path over the ground, and without any wind input or anything else, but the heading takes into account the wind. So if you've got, for example, a strong wind coming from the side, then obviously the nose of the aircraft needs to go into the wind, so that the aircraft can fly straight. Otherwise you would be constantly pushed away from your route by the wind. Yeah, the 747 doesn't have it. The 737 doesn't have it either. I guess from a technological point of view, the 777 is maybe a little bit more advanced, but yeah. This one is interesting because the navigation display there has the heading mode. You can see the display is referenced to the heading. That's an airline configuration. Some airlines got track there, and others have heading. I guess it's just an airline configuration thing. It's not really. It can be both. You can actually change it in the simulator here as well. The Nadp altitudes, no, it's fairly standard. So as I was saying earlier on, Nadp 1 will be accelerating at 3,000 feet and reducing the thrust at 1,500 feet above the ground, above the airport, and Nadp 2 will be 1,000 feet for both, for the acceleration and for the thrust reduction. So some airports have requirements for one of the two procedures. For example, in Italy, I believe they require an Nadp 1 in a lot of airports. In other places, it's Nadp 2. It's usually mentioned in the airport information pages, in your charts bundle. you get like your charts for your ILS, you get your charts for your SID, and you'll get charts with like some sort of like textual information of the airport. And very often, if there is a requirement, the requirement will be on those pages. If there's no requirement on the information pages for the airport, then you can pretty much do what you want. Some airlines have a preferential NADP, I believe for hey, thank you very much for the follow, Boon00, thank you very much. Yeah, some airlines favor one procedure over the other, sometimes for, I guess, fuel consumption. I think it's a little bit more efficient to use NADP2, so to start accelerating and reducing the thrust at 1,000 feet, because obviously you spend less time with the takeoff thrust, and also you've got less time with the flaps out, so it must help a little bit, but I guess the difference is minimal. So, but in a big airline with hundreds of departures every day, at the end of the year it might make a little difference. So that's why I guess some airlines favor like one procedure over the other, but others like kind of let you do whatever you want as well. No, the track bug you need to match all the time with the aircraft track. It's not like the Airbus. The Airbus follows the bug follows the actual aircraft track all the time. So if there's a turn, the bug will turn as well. But on the Boeing, you always need to match it. So once you're on the track, you don't have to change it so often, because you're flying a track and the track is going to be the same for quite some time. The only time when you're going to have to change it, and we may have to change it as we go down towards Spain there, but the only time you have to change it is when you have magnetic variation, and yeah, you go through a line of magnetic variation change, then the track would change by 1 degree. So once in a while you've got to adjust the track, but you don't need to adjust the track as often as you would need to adjust the heading, because the wind is much more dynamic and changes more often than the track. So in a sense it's good to fly with the track, because you don't have to keep matching it all the time. But that's one of the Boeing's disadvantages, if you want, compared to Airbus, because Airbus matches the heading or the track all the time. It's automatic. Yeah, magnetic is always used, because basically it's referring to the compass. Although we don't use the compass up here, but everything is referenced to magnetic headings or magnetic tracks. So yeah, it's always magnetic. The only time when we use true is basically over the North Pole, where the magnetic compass becomes unreliable. If you look at charts for the North Pole area, you'll see that some point some areas are charted as it says on the chart, like area of magnetic what's the phrasing already, magnetic unreliability, so, or something along those lines. So So basically, once you get to these areas, you have to fly true headings, because if you flew magnetic headings, the magnetic variation changes very quickly over like short short areas, like little small areas. So because it changes so quickly, you need to you can't really like rely on it. It's all over the place. So it's better to fly true tracks. But it's only really over the North Pole. I'm not aware of any other areas where where there's a need to fly true headings or true tracks. Actually, if we were like today, if we were flying towards the North Pole, I'm not sure here in the simulation, but on the real aircraft, there's no need to do anything actually. If you fly in LNAV, the aircraft is quite happy to fly in LNAV over the pole, and then at some point, hold on, this would automatically switch to a true, and will show like this. So it would automatically switch. The aircraft navigation database has the information for, you know, when to set the heading reference to true. So you don't even have to do it yourself. It's coming on automatically, which is really good. So you can see here the true heading is 192. And the magnetic heading is 193, so there's a 1 degree reference, 1 degree difference, and that difference is the magnetic variation, basically. Yeah, in Tulu the magnetic variation will be quite big already, so that's why they call the runway 08 true. But if you use like the magnetic heading, it will be way off that. Yeah, 135. Yeah, it's really big. En route chart next to me, and in this area close to Nantes, the en route chart is showing me about 1 degree west of magnetic variation. So it does make sense. They say variation west magnetic best, and variation east magnetic least. So basically from the true heading, which is 192, it's west variation, so you add 1 degree. So that's all correct. So you can see that the simulation there environment is fairly well recreated, I guess, because the variation here is very accurate. I started, Captain Von Grumble. Good afternoon. I started when I was about 22, 23. So started a little bit later than some of the guys can do. Some guys do it straight away after. No, I'm talking rubbish actually. I started a little bit, yeah, 20, not 22, but more like 24 actually. But yeah, some guys after school they go straight into flight training. So by the time they get to maybe the age of 21, they're already like fully qualified and ready to apply for jobs and get into jobs. Yeah, I started a little bit later, so there's not really an age limit. Like starting at the age of 40 or 45 is maybe a little bit late, but you can start. Yeah, some guys start even at like 28, 29. But you can't wait for too long though, because then it's. I don't think it's seen as a problem, but then your brain is less is less active, I guess, as well. Well, at least to learn things and